Hello and welcome to another custom figure review. Today we're looking at this Resurrection Dalek, which is my first fully casted Dalek from scratch. Yep, everything you see here shouldn't technically exist. This is not a custom based off character options figure. None of this was made by character. This didn't appear in a factory. I built this from scratch. I say from scratch, it came from moulds, and to be exact, it came from moulds of classic Daleks, like this one. To be exact, it took the eye stalk from this one, which, as you can see, is slightly bent and warped on this one, and I never straightened it, so that when I made a cast for it, this one ended up being wonky. Yet this is what the Dalek's based off. There's a few. I have the two Resurrection releases that we've had. This is the original one, and then this is the Toys R Us version. Also, it doesn't have a straight eye stalk either. Something about these Daleks not having straight eye stalks at all, so technically this one's a bit on brand. This was my attempt to replicate one of these because it's a lovely Dalek design, but you don't usually find that many of them. So it was on my mind to make another one as a sort of goon in the background, so that I've got three of them, and it goes quite nicely with the Supreme as well. I also thought about, well, I only really have one revelation as well. Well, I say one revelation of that design. I have two Revelation Necros Daleks, but for the time being, I've only got one of this one. So the plan was to make a Resurrection Dalek that would fit also with the Revelation official figure. So what I've done is tried my hardest to sort of make a blend between them. These two are sort of the closer colour, but it's sort of gradients between from Resurrection to Revelation, so it was a nice sort of in between two. I know the eye stalk is slightly different, but worst case scenario, I can fit them all together like this. Now, my one was entirely made from moulds from a Genesis of the Daleks figure. I have a lot of Genesis Daleks, so I could pull one of them apart. Now, most classic Daleks share the same body. They all just have different bases, different fenders, different gun boxes, different plungers, or plungers are pretty much the same, different guns, different slats, different eye stalks, or different lights. Other than that, they're pretty much the same. They all share the same body and neck rings, so that made it a lot easier. That meant that I could basically make any Dalek I liked. For example, these are exactly the same models. The only difference is the fender is slightly different and the eyes are slightly different. The rest is exactly the same sculpt, nothing different. That meant that if I could pull it apart, take it apart to individual pieces, make moulds of every piece, then make casts of them, I could replicate a Dalek like this. Now, the only major difference is that they do not have wheels. This one's got I've recently casted up a set of wheels, but they're not properly locked down, so it currently sits on its base as it is. This is one of the bases that came out a bit badly. There was a bit of a hole in the middle, but it came out quite well. And yeah, as you'll see, the whole thing is casted up. It didn't meet in the middle, so there's a sort of a hole there. I like to fill in the hole down the middle of that one as well. You'll see that the base isn't actually properly attached. It can come off. There's the wheels on the inside. As you can see, it looks like a standard character options Dalek, but is in no way character options. This is completely moulded completely cast from scratch, and goes on like so. Now you'll see there's a bit of the paint job isn't the best thing. That is because this was my first attempt. All the neck rings were separate, and then the dome and everything. This is slightly off white. The iris is not that bad, and the ear lights I've coloured in. Also, they were made with a clear resin, That's the only clear bit of resin that this Dalek used. The rest is just made of standard white resin, and they've just been sprayed up. This is the first airbrushed custom that I've made. I made it slightly shiny to match the props, and the wear and tear around the neck rings and etc. Sort of brings out how the props looked on the show. I think at least some people pointed that out. My first fully casted Dalek, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. It's got the silver as well. It's pretty close. I based it off of this one. Apart from the colour, it's pretty close, I would say. I'm quite proud of it actually, considering because it cost me a lot less. I mean, the moulding and materials, it's quite expensive and very fiddly. I mean, there's so many parts that didn't come out how they were meant to. The upside is that even though they don't always come out perfectly, any broken or miscast bits could be used to make other Daleks, specifically Asylum Daleks, because the missing pieces and broken pieces just work well with it. Because there's no wheels, it just sort of slides along on its base, which sort of gets scratched up. You can see here, it's sort of been scratched up a bit. Eventually, if I get the wheels on properly, it will have the same movement. In terms of articulation, the eye does move up and down. It does also come out like the ones. You'll see inside there, I had to cast the inside pieces as well. This doesn't technically come apart fully because I had to super glue bits down. So for example, because there's no screws to hold things in place, such as the dome is super glued into its piece, which just means it's very squeaky and a bit loose like that. But it has articulation, which is one thing, and for a Goon Dalek that's quite useful. I think I actually used the wrong inside hinge, which is why it's a bit loose. On later Daleks I've worked out and changed so that it doesn't do that anymore. The ball joints are movable, fully working ball joints. This one's a bit loose, but it has articulation there. But yeah, you basically have your working Goon Dalek there, which if I'd cast it all as one piece, you wouldn't have the articulation and we'd be able to move things, but it works as a nice little background Dalek compared to the official toys, these ones. But yeah, it works as a nice little Goon Dalek for Resurrection, and is my first official one. The paint job could be better, but it's not a bad start considering where I could go. Since making this custom, I've now casted every single possible part for a Dalek, so I could cast any Dalek I want to for a lot cheaper than it would be to buy them. I know a lot of people getting into casts and things since. I think I'm the first to cast a full 5-inch Dalek, or all the parts anyway, so I have the ability to make any Dalek design I like, which is just unlocks a lot of things, and also means that I could customise to literally anything without having to feel guilty about destroying a Dalek, which I did with this one. This is an official toy one, which I have butchered and wish that I hadn't done, because now, if I hadn't have done that, it would have been worth, I don't know, £15. It's worth nothing now, I think. But yeah, I will say that because of copyright reasons, I'm not allowed to reproduce these and sell them on. This is purely just for myself, so I can keep in copyright laws. This is just something to do for myself and to expand my collection to get some nice extra Daleks, and sort of army build them before character inevitably releases them all anyway. Again, the latest B&M sets we're seeing a history of the Dalek sets. So I just casted up a load of Dead Planet Daleks and don't actually need them anymore. But anyway, I'm going to be making a lot of casted Daleks. This is the first full replica one. It does stand out because it's different from... It does stand out because it is trying to match up with the official toys, which never will because these were made in factory, and this was made by me. I'll be showing you some of the casts that didn't come out correctly, and then I made into customs anyway. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.